What's up, everybody? In this video this week, I'm going to show you something that's absolutely fascinating about relationships. So this comes from a theoretical perspective called transactional analysis. And although that sounds really fancy, what it really means is this. Trans is across, actions are behaviors, analysis is an assessment. So we're really assessing how people interact with one another. So according to this theory that was created by a man named Eric Berne, B-E-R-N-E, the idea is that we all live out of three ego states all day long. Those ego states are called parent, adult, and child. This is really fascinating. The parent is broken up into two parts. There is the nurturing parent, which is the loving, compassionate part of us. And then there is the critical parent. And this is the part of us that is nagging and we are demanding and critical of others. And then when it comes to the child, that's broken up into two parts as well. We have the fun child, which is the part of us that just wants to have fun and enjoy life. And then we have the hurt child, which is the poor me, everybody feels sorry for me, nothing ever goes my way. And finally we have the adult, and that's the rational part of us. Now, when it comes to these different ego states, we can move in and out of these all day long, and we can actually move in and out of them pretty rapidly. Think about this. Let's say that I was driving down the road and I'm listening to music. So I'm in my fun child, and maybe someone cuts me off and I say, he shouldn't have cut me off. And so I go to my critical parent, and then maybe the phone rings and my wife says, our dog is sick and I'm gonna take him to the vet. And I say, oh, there goes another vet bill. And then I'm in my hurt child, and she says, come on, that's our dog, you should be more loving. And I'm like, you're right, I love him, that's okay. And now I'm in my nurturing parent. And then maybe the two of us brainstorm on what she can do to help him. So now I'm in my adult. So you see, I moved in and out of all those different ego states that quickly. What's important to understand about these ego states is that even though we might move in and out of them fairly rapidly, there are some that we gravitate to more than others. And I want to show you what happens when we gravitate to some more than others. Let's say someone has a really big nurturing parent and a small adult. Although that person might be loving, the challenges that that person faces is often enabling. So without that adult to regulate that love and say, okay, enough's enough, we could get the classic enabler with a big nurturing parent and a small adult. Let's say that we have a big critical parent and a small adult. What we get is a pretty mean person. They're always nagging, they're always on us, they are always critical, demanding of us and the world. That's kind of a tough person to be around. Now when it comes to the child, let's say someone has a really big fun child and a small adult. That person's going to be a blast to be around. The problem is that person's going to be highly irresponsible because he or she is going to be choosing fun and impulsivity over responsibility. Then let's say, what if someone is the hurt child? So if they have a really big hurt child and a small adult to regulate it, what you get is someone who is really exhausting because what they say is constantly, nothing's ever enough. No matter what you do for them, no matter how many times you compliment them, nothing is ever enough. I usually liken the hurt child, someone who's constantly in the hurt child, to imagine a glass that has a hole cut out of the bottom. You can pour whatever amount of water you want to pour in, but it's always going to drain out. So that's really can be exhausting to be around. Finally, there's that adult ego state, which is really about being rational and reasonable. Eric Berne, who created this theory, kind of argued that a healthy person would have a balance. So they might have a really big adult, a nice sized nurturing parent, a nice sized fun child, but a small hurt child and a small critical parent, because we can't get rid of those aspects of us. It's all about balance. But remember at the very beginning, I mentioned that the name of this theory is transactional analysis. So it's not just about understanding the ego states that we have, it's about understanding how our ego state impacts other people and vice versa. It's about the interactions. So watch this. This is really, really eye-opening. Let's say that someone is in a hurt child. That person's feeling sorry for himself or herself. What do you think they want to draw out of another person? They probably want to draw the nurturing parent. Unfortunately, when someone's in a hurt child enough, they often draw out the critical parent. So instead of getting that nurturing aspect that they're looking for, by being helpless, they tend to draw out the critical parent. Well, get up, pick yourself up by your bootstraps and do it. Now, let's say that someone is in the critical parent. They are likely to bring out of another person either the hurt child, so they bring out a hurt child out of someone. Oh, you're always picking on me, and they go back and forth. Or a critical parent pulls out another critical parent. So now it's back and forth all day long, and there's fighting, fighting, fighting. Here's what's so powerful about understanding transactional analysis. Let's say that you encounter someone who's in a critical parent ego state. And when that person's in a critical parent ego state, you stay in your adult. So they might fire at you, but eventually you're not going to give in, and you're not going to throw insults back, and you're not going to go back and forth. And so eventually they lose steam, and you start to bring out the adult in the other person. Now, this isn't magic. It doesn't happen in 2 seconds. Someone might be in a critical parent state for a while, but eventually what happens is they lose energy. My analogy for this is this. Let's say I take a rubber ball and I throw it off a wall. I can sit here and throw it all day long off that wall with very little effort. To me, that's analogous to critical parent against a critical parent. They're going to go back and forth all day long. But if I take a rubber ball and I throw it off a couch, it's going to stick in that couch. And if I want to throw it again, I have to walk all the way across the room, get the ball, come all the way back, throw it again. Eventually, I lose energy. So to me, I teach people that if you want to stay in the adult ego state, learn to be the couch. Instead of throwing back at others, understand or learn how to reflect their process. You're not going to argue with the words they're saying. You're not going to take things personally. Instead, you're going to validate where they are, and you're going to help by validating. You're going to help them come out of that critical parent into the adult themselves. Transactional analysis is so powerful, and it's so eye-opening. But one of the great things that it really teaches us is that we are not powerless in our relationships. Yes, we're going to encounter people who are struggling in different ego states. We're struggling in different ego states at different times. But what's so empowering is once we learn that our ego state impacts others around us, then we don't have to be controlled so easily by everyone who comes along and is, let's say, critical and throws out insults and throws out, is demands at us. Instead of just acquiescing and saying, okay, well now if they're being mean, I have to be mean back, we can stay in control ourselves. And the same thing when we encounter people who are feeling sorry for themselves and they're eternally saying that nothing ever goes their way and everything happens to them. You've encountered people who struggle like this. You might be struggling like this, where if you're in the line at the grocery store, you're like, oh, look, this line, this always happens to me, or this traffic, it always happens to me. That's a really self-focused position to be in. And when you're around someone who's in that hurt child, it can be really exhausting. But if you can maintain your adult ego state, you kind of, instead of going with, oh no, that happened at the grocery store. Oh no, there was traffic today for you. Instead, you kind of just validate where they are. It sounds like you're really upset. And the more you validate and stay in your adult, the more eventually you help that person move from the hurt child to the adult. Once you understand transactional analysis, one of the most beautiful things is instead of being a puppet to what everyone else is doing, you can become in control of yourself. And then you can watch how your energy literally reverberates throughout all your relationships and throughout all of the interactions that you have. Until next time, as always, I wish you Much peace. Hey, if you like this video, I would love for you to hit thumbs up, and I would love for you to subscribe to this channel. If you can, please share this video with others. The more we can get people to be acting out of their adult ego states, the more peaceful the world will be.